Welcome, dear listeners, to the Speak and Flow podcast, where we dive into unique experiences to help you and your team achieve maximum potential and flow, even when the stakes are high. Today, I have an amazing, caring, I already sense the care that he has. His name is, and also successful leader. He's a senior product manager at Balsam Brands. His name is Nick Bourland. Hi, Nick. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for your time and also sharing your amazing story today. And before we dive in, can you share with the audience what are you so excited about at Borland or Balsam Brands?
Well, it's a company that's really unique. It's called an evergreen company, which basically means we don't have outside investors. It's wholly owned inside, and that allows us to do more of what's right for our customers and for the business as a whole instead of being beholden to what stakeholders want to do. A lot of times businesses have to sacrifice on quality for that. So that's not something that we have to deal with. And actually, one of our values is to share joy. So that's something I really resonated with. I love being able to bring a little bit more happiness around the world just through our products and things. So we do artificial Christmas trees, just like really high-end artificial Christmas trees. And so Christmas is something that's very joyful for people in general. And so we get to be part of that. And that's something that I've always loved about being part of Balsam. It's been a very great company. And also wonderful as I've gone on this journey that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. They've been very supportive through all of that. So it's a good place to be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, to have that wonderful value of joy and spreading joy. It sounds like an amazing company firm. And also, like you said, yeah, not having the outside investors' opinions. You do what you want to do. And so, and you're a senior product manager there now.
Yeah,
You've rised up the ranks, you've elevated and made some progress there. And so, congratulations.
thank you.
Can you share with the audience what it was like before that, before your success?
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey. I think growing up, I always knew that I was a little bit different, but we didn't have a word for it. And as I've gone through the years, I've come to realize there is something I need to investigate what it is, right? So I've come to be diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, which just a few years ago, as a matter of fact, about 2 years ago.
Oh,
And so
wow.
through my career, there were a lot of ups and downs. And there was a point in my career where I was actually dismissed from a role. This is probably about 15 years ago. And it was a misunderstanding, largely in part as I look back, due to this condition that I have of being autistic. And when that happened, I was told, well, maybe you should just be in a role where you shouldn't work with other people and you can just be kind of a lone ranger and do analysis. We'll hide you in a corner or something like that. And that was very devastating to hear because I've always really cared a lot about people and wanted to work with people. But this condition that I've had has always been something that I've struggled with, and it causes me to maybe not always have the same social boundaries or understandings about how people perceive things as what comes normally to most people. So it's always been kind of a struggle. And when that happened, I thought at the time, wow, this is really career ending. I felt very devastated. Um, but um, I battled back from that and then got into another role at a company I was with for about 6 years. And then even a similar thing happened. I'd been there
So
for,
what, uh-huh,
yeah, go
because
ahead.
can you describe to me what was happening? What was your experiencing and what was the feedback? What would you try to do and what was the feedback that you were getting?
Yeah, well, it's just when you are autistic, things sound right in your head,
Uh-huh.
but when you say them, they're not always perceived in the way that you had intended. And so sometimes I will say something and then realize, I don't know, 5 minutes to an hour later, like, gosh, why did I say that?
Uh-huh.
Because you realize later it just doesn't come off entirely right. And so I've had to really learn how to, I mean, I guess in the autistic community, we call it masking, uh,
Uh-huh.
trying to reorient our thoughts or the way that we come across in ways that are more normal, I guess, for people. And that's been a bit of a journey. I think I've always really, really cared a lot about people. And so that was one of my main driving forces in wanting to be better, is that I would recognize, oh gosh, I've offended somebody really inadvertently and made them feel bad. And then I'd go off and feel horrible about it
Mm,
and beat myself up about it. And then realize later, okay, this is not something that I'm going to allow to rule my life. So I have to figure out how to stop doing it, how to be better. And so that's been, I mean, even to this day, it's like a 15-year journey of when I realized this was something that was going on to where I am now.
mhm,
Um, and it's through a lot of therapy and just introspection and learning. And also, I think a big part of it has been my personal faith has allowed me to equalize. I think as somebody who is autistic, the natural way our brain thinks is you tend to be very self-focused. And it's not because you don't care about people, it's just you get in your head a lot.
mm,
And that can be perceived in negative ways if you're not careful. And that happened to me a lot. But through this journey, the great equalizer has been my faith, which calls me to care more about other people. And there's a quote that I love about humility. It says, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less,
mhm,
meaning less frequently and thinking about others more frequently. And so that's been something that over the years has really helped me even out
mhm,
and has been my North Star.
mhm.
So through that process of many, many years, like the first time that I became a manager was when I was working for Oakley. Gosh, this is 15 years ago or something now. And I crashed and burned. It's terrible. I was not good as a supervisor at all. And it was because I was still learning how to be.
And
And
you were not diagnosed at that point.
no, I wasn't. So I
Wow.
really had no idea.
You had no idea.
People would just think, oh, well, that's just Nick. He's kind of weird.
Wow.
And that was hard. And so this
Uh-huh.
happened again. And I just really didn't do a good job as a manager the first time around. And after that happened there again, I thought, wow, this is going to be really career ending. And it wasn't. But at the time, that's how we feel. You know, we think, oh gosh,
Yeah.
I failed. How can I ever recover from something like this?
This is the
And
second time too.
second time,
This is gonna
second
be
time.
so hard.
And
Yeah,
it's been very bumpy. And like I have other friends who are autistic too, and they've shared similar experiences with me. It's especially in a corporate environment, everything is supposed to be, very, you have to be very prim and proper. It's
right.
getting better now, but there's a lot of etiquette and unspoken things that you have to adhere to. And a lot of people tend to get really offended about really small things, but they don't necessarily tell you that they've been offended. They go and tell your boss, or they tell someone else, and then it becomes this big thing. And that's exactly what happened. It was something that was taken way out of context, and I wasn't given the opportunity to give my side.
Uh-huh.
It was just, oh well, this is not acceptable, so you're out. And I'm like, okay. Uh, and so again, I thought, wow, this is really devastating. How am I ever going to come back from this? But fast forward to more recently, as I've gone through the years, and I've had a wonderful counselor who's helped me do something called EMDR. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's
Familiar. I'm
yeah,
familiar.
it was originally pioneered for PTSD victims, but has been found to be useful for any type of trauma. And I think we all have trauma in our past. I certainly do, which I won't go into here. But through that, my therapy has really helped me to find, I guess, redefine my neural pathways so that when my brain wants to go down a certain route, and overthink things, which is also a hallmark of my condition, then I can rein it back in and stop the negative narrative. I think that's been a really big thing for me. Is the brain tends to skew very negatively. I think a lot of us do that. We think,
Mhm.
well, even if you did 99% of the things right, you fixate on the 1% of the thing that you did wrong, and you beat yourself up about it. That's definitely been me. And so the therapy has really helped me to even that out and focus on, look at all the positive things that I did. And so
Mhm.
that's been very transformative over the last 15 years or so. And then come to in the last 2 years, I guess, is when I finally got diagnosed and had
Wow.
a name for it.
What prompted you?
Well, it's funny. So I had been at Balsam for, I don't know, just a couple months.
Uh-huh.
And again, something that happened in a meeting was taken out of context, and it was brought to me. And this is why I really love the company, because instead of just doing the same thing that had been done before and saying, "Oh well, Nick's just a jerk or he's weird or whatever," they brought this to me and said, "Have you ever thought about this? Being diagnosed?" Because
Really?
one of my, we call them people partners. It's just human resources, but they call them people
Uh-huh.
partners.
Uh-huh.
Also, my people partner had come to me and said, this sounds like this to me. Have you
Uh-huh.
ever taken a test or been diagnosed? I said, no, I haven't. And
Uh-huh.
so she shared kind of an unofficial test with me that
Uh-huh.
I took online. And basically, it said there's a high probability that you are neurodivergent. And so I said, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. So then I asked my therapist, is this something you can help me with? Can you give
Uh-huh.
me an official diagnosis? And so he did. And so after that, come to find out that folks who are like me, being on the autism spectrum, as we call it, are actually protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so Balsam was really wonderful, and they shared that information with me. Um, and I think that they did a couple things. They gave me some professional coaching just to help me navigate all of that. But I think more than that, it was just being validated to know, like, everybody else in the past had just said, "Oh, you're just weird, you're strange, you're abnormal," and just dismissed me as that. But they didn't do that. They really tried to validate me and recognize that this is a legitimate, unique thing that people have, and that did not invalidate my contributions to the company. So
Wow.
it's been a bit of a bumpy ride, but but through it all, I think what I've learned is that people are going to tell us, you will never succeed in this. You'll never be able to be a manager of people. Maybe you should just go hide, like I said before. These are things that I was told. And fast forward to now, I found it's really not true. It's just been more of understanding who I am and how to manage that and how to better interact with other people. So it's been quite a journey, but I think I'm stronger for it.
Wow, what a inspiring story. You definitely are stronger for it. And I'm so thankful for the people at Balsam to, yes, to be there for you, to have that conversation. I mean, just to, yeah, ask you to even think about it and to find out on the other side, all the dots aren't making sense now.
Yes.
And so kudos for you to continue to, yeah, even though people are saying these terrible things about you or just things that were not true, maybe that's just what they thought would help, but it just was not helpful. But you
Yeah.
continued, you continued down, continue to pick yourself up, found your way to an amazing company that will support you. And yeah, I continue to even help you to use this probably as your strong point. You I mean, they can leverage you so much more now because
Yeah.
you have different strengths
Yeah.
and then to be able to capitalize on that, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's talk about the positive. So
Yes.
the thing I think I want to share most with everybody, especially people who are of this persuasion, there's lots of different flavors of autism and they all present in different ways. But what I want to share with people is I've learned to look at it as a strength, like you said, strength, not a weakness, because our brains think just differently. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's wrong, but it thinks differently. And so people on my team have said things like, how in the world do you keep track of all of the things? I mean, so I manage uh, four teams of doing multiple different things at Balsam, and it's all technology based, but they all are in sort of different work streams. So it's like a marketing work stream. There's a data analytics work stream, and like a more like a core company data backend stream, and customer service. So those are all things that I oversee. And with that, there's just a lot of things to keep track of. And I have, like I said, multiple teams of folks under me, and I've got to manage what they're doing and try and give guidance and leadership, but I'm also managing my own initiatives and things to stay connected. It's a lot. And
Mhm.
people will say, how in the world do you keep track of all this? And I say, well, in this case, autism is sort of my superpower because my brain works this way, it just makes it easier for me to keep track of things. I'm ultra detailed, as most of us in this persuasion are. We're very detailed, and um, I don't know. It's just how my brain works, and I try not to look at it as I'm better or worse than anybody. I'm just different.
Yeah,
And so, what I try to do as a leader is recognize those same things in people on my team.
yeah.
And actually, one of the guys that was on my team before, he, I'm 99% sure he's also of this persuasion. And I encouraged him to also get diagnosed because I had learned this about myself. And he's
Mhm.
very similar. And so I tried to get him into a work stream that would allow him to leverage that strength as well. And now he's just doing fantastic things. It's a super detail oriented role, but also requires him to take an active lead.
Uh-huh.
And he's just doing a fantastic job. And so I love that. Getting to just examine who are all the people that we have, and we're not all the same,
Right.
but what are the individual strengths that everybody has?
Mm.
And I think that all started with me recognizing what those were in myself. Say,
Right.
okay, what are my strengths? And so this is my autistic superpower, is being super neurotic, I guess, and ultra detailed, but it
Yes.
allows me to do things that might be harder for, I guess you'd call them neurotypical folks,
Yeah.
uh, because it's just the way my brain works. And so
Yeah.
I've come to use that as a benefit, as a strength
Hmm.
instead of a weakness. That's been really a wonderful thing for me.
Oh my gosh. And the team also said that you are one of the best managers that they've ever had.
Yeah, they really they knocked my socks off the other day. They had a meeting, and they just organized this on their own, and they said, let's all get together and just say a few things that we have learned or that we appreciate about Nick. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I don't know that a lot of people get to have that, but my team all got on there, and they probably made me almost cry a few times because they were just very, very kind and said things like that, like, the best manager I've ever had. I manage a lot of software engineers, right? And normally they're very quiet
Yeah.
and reserved and not willing to share, certainly not feelings about things. But one of
Yeah.
my guys said, when he's talking with his friends about their managers and the struggles that they have with their managers, he says, whenever that's happening, I talk about you and how great you are. And I thought, wow, I don't know what to say to that. That's just such a wonderful thing, but it's also such a transformation from earlier in my career with all these things that I struggled with, of trying to figure out how to interact with people and especially how to lead. And the first time that I did that did not succeed. And so to be able to come back, um, and turning this weakness into a strength and then have people say those kinds of things about me has just been such a blessing.
Oh, it makes me want to cry. Like, I love that. I can't imagine had you listened and believed that person and been in the hole in your cave just alone. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That could have happened had you given up.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard lots of stories too of other people that had similar things like that happen. When people are a bit different, they think differently
Yeah.
about things. People don't usually accept it immediately. They think, oh, well, that can't be done. It's never been done before. This is always the way it's been done. But I think having people who think in different perspectives in different ways is what gives us strength. I mean, think about if someone had told Jeff Bezos, well, nobody wants to buy books online. In fact, I
Yeah.
think he did have a lot of people say that. Nobody wants to do this. Who's ever going to do that? Had he listened to them,
Uh-huh.
how different would the world be
Right.
today?
Right.
We wouldn't have the wonderful convenience of Amazon.com or anything. And that's just one thing. There are so many examples of this. And
Right.
it's people who think differently. And I think for ourselves, people who think differently, learning to embrace the difference and saying, no, I'm not as the same as everybody else, but that's okay.
So how, yeah, I'm curious, the masking. So how do you, so you still think different, but
Oh yeah.
how do you translate it or mask it or whatever to so that it you think different and also it resonates with people? How do you
Yeah, it's been a journey over many, many years. I think now I just have a very quick translation engine in my head, I guess, where
Mhm.
it comes in here and I think, okay, no, I have to say it this way, and it just happens very instantaneously. And so most people, when they talk to me now, have no idea that I am autistic unless I actually tell them,
Uh-huh.
because I've just gotten very good at it,
Uh-huh.
I think. Um, but before it was really just learning that I can take a moment
Uh-huh.
and pause, and that's okay. In fact, I have a post-it note next to my laptop on my desk that says, you don't have to respond right away. You can take a minute, because it's been something very important for me to remember. One of the hallmarks of autism is that if you make plans for something and then things go awry, which in my line of work, they often do.
Mhm.
We make plans and then the plans get torpedoed and we have to pivot. That can be very frustrating. And so in those moments, we take a deep breath and I look at my post-it note. I
Mhm.
say, okay, I don't have to respond to this right now. It's okay to take a moment. And so sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll take it away from the meeting and say, let me take this away and come back. And that allows me the time that I need. And that's absolutely okay. And it's also okay to say you're not sure. That's another thing that I've learned. So those things, I do those things when necessary, but on the whole, it's just been my translation engine, I guess, in my head has come about where I've just learned, think about it like sort of taking mental notes about how people respond positively or negatively to things. And
Mm,
so over a lot of time, I've logged all this stuff away
got it.
and then learned, okay, when I do this, people don't really like it. When I
Got
do
it.
this, people do. And there's actually a really wonderful book called The Journal of Best Practices, which is actually written by a man who is also on the spectrum. And it was about him learning how to be a better husband, actually. And so he was doing this. He was actually physically writing notes and putting them in a drawer. And this was his journal of best practices, right? And learning, when I say this thing to my wife, she really doesn't like it. Or when I do this thing, she really doesn't like it. When I do this other thing, she responds positively. And so he was literally writing these things down. I haven't gone to that length, but I just file them away in my mind. And so when situations come up, say, okay, I've gone through this before.
Right.
This is how I should respond when this happens. Or even being proactive about things like beginning meetings and just doing simple things like asking how everybody is. Or
Mhm.
if someone on my team has said something like, their mother was ill, or someone had passed, or something hard happened in their family, I follow up and I ask them how they are. And I really do care. I mean, I genuinely do care, but I log these mental notes away to just show that I care, because being autistic is, it's not always the first thing that comes to your mind. So I make a mental list of, okay, I need to make sure that um, I show that I care to everybody on my team so that they know, and it's not just this unspoken thing that they have to assume that I care, but I show them. And
Mhm.
over time, they've really come to see, yes, Nick really does care about us. And so then they also care about me. And then it creates this environment where everybody has felt cared for, they felt welcome. And they've
Mhm.
also, some of my team members have told me that they feel like I've created an environment that allows them to fail upward,
Yeah.
where they can experiment, they can try something new. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay, because
Mhm.
they feel safe, and they also feel like that I'm actually concerned about their personal growth
Mhm.
and helping them achieve what they want in their career and helping them realize their
Mhm.
strengths, instead of just, we got to get the work done. We got to get the work done. It's so
Yeah.
it's more familial. And they've said things like that to me, like, okay, yeah, this is the environment that we want to foster. We want everybody to feel comfortable and confident, because that's when they do their best work,
I
really.
love it. Hmm. Yeah, to fail upward. I love
Yeah.
that. Every failure, you can go upward.
Yeah.
There's possibility there as long as like you have someone, a leader like you, who will facilitate the safe environment to continue to expand upward, even in
Yeah.
the midst of failure, because that's what you did, and you know you're
Exactly.
stronger because of that.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I love that, Nick. That was so amazing. I just really, really am inspired by that story. And I mean, even from the beginning when I first met you, just a debrief before the recording, I just genuinely felt your care. So I'm so glad that you do
Good.
continue to take the mental note. It's a lot for you to make sure that people care, know that you care. It sounds like you're doing, I want them to know, and I'm glad that it's all reciprocating.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. So thank you so much. And I want to just close with one more question.
Yeah.
What is that one leadership golden takeaway that you want the audience to remember?
Well, never let anybody else define your future.
Yeah.
Because had I listened to a lot of these people that said you will never be a leader, you'll never interact normally with people, um, my life would have been very different.
Mhm.
And I didn't let them define those things for me. And so, what I want to say to everybody, whether you're on the spectrum or you're not,
Mhm.
just because someone says something doesn't make it true. So, if someone says you will never fill in the blank, that doesn't make it true. I take those things and look at them as a challenge.
Mhm.
And so I think for me, I always really wanted to be a leader. I wanted to be a mentor of other people. And so even though I didn't succeed at first, I didn't give up. And because I didn't give up, I actually managed to achieve what I wanted. And to go from being really just not a very good leader to having people say the things that they've said about me and led a successful team. And we've just accomplished so many wonderful things at Balsam and elsewhere throughout my career. If I had listened to those things, my life would have been very different. And so I just want to encourage everybody that just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. And if you put your mind to something and you say, I have this struggle, but I really want to overcome it and I want to be a leader or I want to be whatever it is, you absolutely can.
Oh, Nick, I am inspired because sometimes as a business entrepreneur, I'm constantly putting messaging out there and I'm thinking about what are people going to think? Is it going to sound weird? And so what your guidance in terms of test it out, like see if they like it or see if they don't.
Yeah.
Be different. It's okay. We're not meant to be like everybody else.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
don't let other people define you. I think those are all so key, important messages for anyone to hear. And so thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story. I know it's vulnerable, but I know that it's also going to help so many people.
I'm so glad.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Okay, audience, thank you so much for being here. I trust that you got your golden takeaway to implement today, and I just send you the best. And remember, anytime you have a chance to communicate, you're also connecting and inspiring others. Until next time, I am your sister in flow. Much love. Bye bye. Thanks for joining the conversation today. Are you curious on how you measure up with your ability to speak in flow? Come grab my free self-assessment at https://speakinflow.com/assessment. And I'll see you on the other side.